Hey, this is Anne-Marie, the anti-HR HR lady, and I want to talk a little bit today about how much notice is enough notice. I've had a couple people ask for my advice in connection with separating from an organization and asking me how much notice do they have to give. I want to be very clear. If you work in an employee or employment at will jurisdiction, you don't owe your employer any notice more than what you want to give them. Now, the standard in the United States is usually 2 weeks. And usually if you're in an executive position, director, vice president, or above, something like that, you might give 3 weeks. And if you have an employment agreement, which sometimes is the case even in employment at will jurisdictions, if you have an employment contract or agreement that says that you will agree to give a certain amount of weeks notice, then obviously you have to abide by that. But make sure that if you have such an agreement, then you're getting something in exchange for all of that, right? But that's a conversation for another day. But if you don't have any kind of contract and you're hired in an employment at will jurisdiction, which is, I think, almost a majority of the states in the United States at this point, then you don't owe your employer any more notice than they deserve. So what you decide to give them should very much be based on how they treat you and whether you think you're going to need them for anything. So do you need them for a reference? Then you might give them the 2 weeks. If you don't need them for a reference, do you need to give them the 2 weeks? Maybe not. Do you work in an industry that is pretty small and everyone knows each other, and them saying something about the way in which you left could be bad for you? If that's the case, then you might want to give them at least 2 weeks notice. But how much notice you give your employer should very much be about what is in your best interest, not theirs. Remember that if your employer decides to let you go, they're going to give you little to no notice. You'll probably find out when you can't log into your computer or by an email over the weekend. So don't feel that you owe them more consideration than they're going to give to you. And then one more thing I want to talk about in connection with separations is how much work should you do after you've given notice that you're leaving? You should do just enough to ensure that you're fulfilling your responsibilities in the job that you have. Do not allow people to dump a whole bunch of projects on you that they want you to complete before you leave. Don't feel like you have to get all these different things done before you exit. Trust me, if you get hit by a truck, they'll find somebody else to do it. So don't let them dump a bunch of stuff in your lap and tell you that you have to get it done before you leave. You actually don't. Okay? So a great way to deal with that is to say, sure, and then on your last day, just send an email letting them know all the things that you were not able to get to. But don't ever feel pressured that you have to do all these different things after you have put in resignation and they know that you're leaving. That's another trick that management plays on employees. A lot of you, especially the younger employees, really feel obligated to do a lot of things that you have no obligation to do. And so this is me letting you know and giving you permission to just not do those things. You don't owe employers more than a hard day's work for a hard day's pay. Don't feel like you have to take on other things without compensation, or that you owe them an inordinate amount of notice if you decide to leave your employer. Don't be bamboozled. Don't be taken advantage of. This is Anne-Marie, the anti-HR HR lady. Remember, HR is not your enemy, but they're definitely not your friend, but I am. I'll see you in the next video.